In this video, I'm gonna walk you through 5 simple steps to sell SaaS, software as a service. And you wanna make sure you watch this video all the way through because these strategies are gonna be applicable if you are selling a SaaS idea that's not quite built yet and you wanna pre-sell it. And it's also gonna work even if you are working at a company selling an established SaaS product. What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick Dang here. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to see more sales training videos like this. And let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, to understand from a high-level perspective, the SaaS sales funnel, essentially what we want to be thinking about is thinking our sales process as a funnel, almost like a triangle, right? So at the top of the funnel is your first step where you're gonna obviously have more people and you try to get as many people in your funnel as possible. And as you walk them through every step, right, there's gonna be 5 steps for this video. Well, you're gonna filter out more and more people until you get to the end of the funnel where people are actually qualified to buy and they end up purchasing your products and service. And so this video is all about how to walk your prospects, your potential customers, through every step of the funnel so that you can turn a total stranger into a paying customer. Now at the top of the funnel, right, the top of this triangle is gonna be lead generation. So lead generation, in my opinion, is probably the most overlooked aspect of sales because, if you think about a funnel, if you don't have the beginning of the funnel, meaning people are not coming in as leads, you can't even walk them through any of the steps to actually do the selling process, talk on the phone, do a presentation, close a deal, negotiate. You cannot do any of that without lead generation. So whether you are already a proven enterprise selling an established software, or if you're a startup and you're just really starting out and you haven't built anything yet, you have to generate leads. Now, for your industry, for whatever you are selling, it's gonna vary a little different, right? For example, real estate, in that industry, it might be easier to cold call, real estate brokerages and real estate agents to try to sell them that way. For other industries, it might be better to do a cold email, right? In other industries, like let's say if you're selling consulting services, if you're installing any software or integrating anything, using LinkedIn and social selling might be more effective. So whatever it is you are selling, just know that each channel is going to vary depending on what you're selling and who you're selling it to. But what's most important is you find at least one effective form of outreach and communication to start generating those leads. Once you get one down, you can expand. But if you don't have one way to generate leads, whether it's cold email, LinkedIn, or whatever, well, you got nothing. So definitely find one that works for you first. And my recommendation is to look at other people in your industry, maybe your competitors or people who are much larger than you, and see how they're doing it. Chances are, if it's working for them in their industry, it probably can work for you too if you just kind of follow a similar route. Now, the next step of the SaaS selling process is you want to qualify your prospects, right? Because not everyone is gonna be a fit to buy. For example, if you're sending 100 emails, how do you know for sure that these people are actually gonna buy from you? You don't, and that's why you have to get on the phone, right? You basically send them an email, say, do you wanna have a meeting? You get on the phone and you qualify them before you start selling anything, right? So qualification is extremely important because you are basically asking a bunch of questions, understanding the customer, and seeing if they are a good fit to buy. I'm not saying you have to force anything. I'm just saying, is there a fit? Do they have a problem that you can solve with your SaaS product? So from a tactical level, how it's gonna work is you get on the phone with a prospect and you have, a little building rapport, chat a little bit like, oh, how's the weather over there? Oh, where are you from? Then you say something like, hey, I wanna be respectful of your time, so how about we go ahead and get started? Is that okay with you? And they're gonna say, sure, let's go ahead and get started, right? And that's how you start a sales meeting. You just ask permission. Hey, do you mind if we go ahead and get started? Obviously, they're on the phone with you, they're gonna say yes. And as you qualify the prospect, the main things you are looking for from a high level is you wanna look for a couple things. Do they have a pain that you can solve? Is that pain bad enough that they're gonna pay money to you to solve it? Okay, if that's true, then you wanna talk about, okay, do they even have the budget to buy whatever it is you're offering? When do they want to buy? And who is gonna buy? Meaning, who are the other decision makers involved in this process? And you wanna get all these questions answered during the qualification process, and some people also call it the discovery phase. You can kind of mix the two together where you're just learning about the prospect, getting as much information as possible, and by the end of the meeting, your only goal is to understand, hey, is this person someone that should buy my product and service? You're not even quite selling them quite yet, you're actually just gathering information to see if they are worthy, right, qualified to move to the next step, which moves us to step number 3, which is your presentations, your demonstrations, and your pitches, okay? So I'm kind of bundling this all together. Now, once you qualify the prospect, the next step is to do some type of presentation, a pitch, or a demonstration to show them how you actually solve their problem, what your product actually is, what value you provide, and to actually show them the software if you already have it built. What does it actually do? What does it look like? What does it feel? Is it easy to use, right? And this is where you're gonna start actually selling. Now, the important part to understand is before you even sell anything, you have to first qualify the prospect, right? Because if you start selling in the beginning, you're not even sure if this person even cares about what you have to say. But if you qualify the prospect first, then suddenly everything you say in your demonstration is going to hit a lot harder because you're directly addressing the pains that you uncovered during the qualification step. Now, in your presentation, demonstration, however you want to do it, the main thing you want to remember is that you only want to talk about the pain points the prospect already told you during the qualification phase. If they didn't talk about those pains, don't talk about it in your presentation because they actually don't care, right? Don't talk about all the different features that you have and all the things you can do because that's not what they came for the meeting for. They came to see how you can solve their problem. Now, from my personal experience, I find the best way to do a SaaS demonstration or presentation is actually if you're doing it remotely, right? Whether you're like sharing your screen and you know, talking to the person, maybe with a Zoom call, I would share my screen and I would do a presentation, probably using PowerPoint or Keynote, and basically walk them through the pains that they had and how we solved their pains. And you know why I prefer using a Keynote or PowerPoint is because you're using your audio, you're using your voice, and at the same time you're using visuals so you can clearly demonstrate the problems that you're solving. And it's a very simple thing, right? You just go slide by slide, and you don't have to memorize too many things. You're literally just going with the script and talking them through it. Now, on top of that, what I would also recommend, and now if you have some kind of software that's very easy to use and it's fast and it's working, I would use a combination of PowerPoint and then also go into the software after you kind of finish your PowerPoint to show them like, hey, this is how we do the thing I was talking about. This is how you add people here and delete people here and this and that. It depends on what you're selling, right? And I would show them how the software actually works so they can visualize, oh, this is how my life would look if I bought this software from Patrick. And again, when you talk about the different features in your software, whether it's through the PowerPoint or actually going into your software and showing them live, you're only gonna wanna talk about the things that they care about. Obviously, you don't talk about all the different features that you have, right? Especially if you're working at an enterprise company and they have all these different type of features that nobody uses, don't talk about those because they didn't ask for that. They asked for the features that solve their problem, right? Pain, solution, match it together, and that's how you do your presentations. Now, the next step of the SaaS selling process is you're gonna want to go for the close or go for the next steps. Now, typically when you're selling SaaS, not everyone is going to buy on the spot and buy right after the demonstration, right? Because a lot of times if you're selling something more complicated, especially if it's more enterprise or if it's quite expensive, you're gonna need multiple people involved in the prospect sides before they make a decision, right? Maybe their CTO, CMO, CEO all have to get together in a meeting to decide whether or not they should purchase a product or service from you. So that's why you can't always expect someone to close right there unless you're selling something that's fairly obvious, very transactional, and not very expensive, then yeah, maybe they'll buy after you do the presentation and do a demonstration. However, if you're doing something very complicated, it takes many people to integrate the software and things like that, and they have to hire consultants and all these different things, don't expect it to close because there's a lot of steps that need to happen before things actually do close. So what you want to do instead is you want to understand what the next step is in the selling process for the prospect, right? So instead of saying like, hey, do you want to buy now? You could say something like, hey, based on everything we talked about so far, is there anything else you need to see before moving forward? And if they have any objections, you handle them right there. If they say, nope, that's everything we need to see, then you're like, okay, so it seems like you guys are interested. Well, just curious to understand, what exactly is the next step for you if you were to move forward with this? Now, what's gonna happen when you ask a question like this is the prospect is going to tell you exactly what needs to happen on their side if they wanna buy, right? And if they actually do wanna buy, they might wanna buy right now, but They cannot, because maybe there's an approval process. So they might say, okay, well, Patrick, thanks for doing the presentation. Well, usually our next step is I gotta talk to my boss about it, and then we're gonna go to procurement, and then we gotta talk to a tech guy to see if this is gonna work with this and that. And then, they're gonna tell you, every sale is a little bit different. So they're gonna tell you what the next steps are, right? And then you're basically gonna ask, okay, interesting. Well, how long is it gonna take for you to have those conversations, right? When will you have those conversations? And then they're gonna say, oh, probably sometime next week. And then you're gonna say, okay, do you need me to be on that conversation to make sure that everything goes smoothly and I can answer any of those questions? And they might say, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty good, Patrick. And it'd be easier for you to do it than me to do it. So then what I would do as a salesperson is I would make a recommendation. I'll say, hey, do you mind if I make a recommendation? They'll say, sure. Well, it seems like if you need to talk to this person, talk to the IT guy, and talk to this person, how about we go ahead and do this? We schedule a meeting with everybody, me, you, and everyone included, and we have a conversation to see whether or not this is really a good fit for everyone. And that way, you don't have to do it by yourself, and I could help answer some of the questions that maybe your boss might have, the IT guy might have, and it'll be a lot smoother, quicker, and it will save a lot of time for both of us. How does that sound? And the other person might say, okay, that sounds pretty good, Patrick. Well, let me go ahead and work on getting everyone on the same page, and we'll schedule a meeting. And then from there you say, okay, how about I go ahead and put a tentative date for now, and then you try to get everyone on. How about next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m.? Does that sound good with you? And they're gonna say yes, and then that basically closes out the presentation and moves them to the next step, right? And so usually for like longer deals where it takes multiple steps before someone closes a deal, you basically have to keep doing this over and over and over until you go through every step that a company needs to go through before buying, right? So after all that, maybe they get on the call, everything sounds good, and then you ask them the same thing, to everyone. You say, hey, is there anything else you need to see before moving forward? And they're gonna say, okay, well, we need to do this. And then you basically draw up a timeline, make sure both sides know, and then do the thing, and have another meeting, and then you keep doing that until you get to a point where they're ready to close. You send them the contract, and that's when they sign. But it isn't always that easy, which leads us to the final step, which is following up. So any type of sales deals, whether you're selling SaaS, an enterprise, startup, whatever it is, not everything goes according to plan. Sometimes things get delayed. Sometimes it's just not at the right time in the moment, or maybe they had the budget, then they lost the budget, then they need to wait for the budget, right? There's so many different things that can happen. And sometimes it's just totally out of the blue and you don't expect it. So what you want to do is you want to always be following up if things don't go the way you want and things get off track, right? And as you can see, the way I'm selling is I'm always creating a timeline that I understand and they understand. We're on the same page, working together to close a deal. But when things don't go according to plan, well, you want to make sure that you follow up, right? So if someone says, okay, everything sounds good, Patrick, but our company just pulled the budget, we don't have any money to buy this IT anymore, then I would say, okay, totally understand, that happens all the time, right? Nothing we can really do about that. But now I'm just curious, in the future, is this something that your company wants to do in the future and create a budget for it, or is this something that they just don't care about at all? And the person might say, yeah, we want to do this, but it's just that they need money for this other project, and maybe 6 months from now, we're gonna get the budget again. So then you basically schedule another meeting, or basically you could say something like, okay, well, that's totally fine. How about this? 6 months from now, I'll go ahead and follow up with you. Maybe I'll send you an email, I'll give you a call, whatever works best for you. And we can talk about whether if you got the budget or not. If you did get the budget, we can kind of start things over and resume the conversation. But if not, totally fine, because I understand if you don't have money, you can't buy. Is that right? And they're gonna say, okay, it sounds totally fine. So you create an opportunity for you to follow up 6 months from now, right? And that's very different from, let's say, you say, okay, thanks, bye. And then 6 months from now, you give them a call out of the blue. Because when you tell them ahead of time that you're going to follow up, following up is a lot easier because they already expect you to call them or expect your email. You're almost like friends. But if you're just like not setting those expectations in the beginning and you try to follow up later, they're not gonna pick up your calls, they're not gonna respond to your email because they don't feel like they need to. They never agreed to it, right? So that's why when you follow up, make sure you set the expectations in the beginning for your follow-up if you can, and then just keep following up until something changes on their side. And then when they're ready to buy again, they have the budget, they're ready to go, you're the first person they're gonna think of to move forward. And so with that said, that's gonna be the 5 steps to selling SaaS, whether you're working at a startup or a large company. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And if you want a free training on how to start, accelerate your sales career, and sell anything to anyone, I got a free training. Link is in the description. So with that said, my name is Patrick Dang, and I'll see you guys in the next one.